right, welcome back to In the Shade podcast. I'm Jenny Wilson.
And I'm Isabel Ancella.
And this is our third episode.
Wee. All right, we want to start off the episode with a little disclaimer and just kind of reminding everyone why we started this podcast. And it's because we wanted to bring awareness for BIPOC people that have gone missing, but also we discuss stories of individuals that are convicted murderers. But mainly, the reason why we started this is because these types of stories just don't hit mainstream media, or if they do, it's only for a short time and then they just fall through the cracks again. And so we just want to use our platform to kind of bring more awareness and hopefully bring justice to the people affected by these crimes.
So by BIPOC, we mean Black, Indigenous, people of color. I'm going to give you guys a brief summary of what today's case is about. So today's case is about the last first date, and it's about a 20-year-old gay South Korean-born kid named Jaxon Sales. What Jackson didn't even know was that was going to be the last time he was going to be seen was going to be March 1st, 2020. So, again, just a brief summary. The Jaxon Sales, the 20-year-old, was found dead on March 2nd, 2020, and he was found dead by an overdose, and he was found dead in a 41-year-old white man's bed in a luxury apartment in San Francisco, California. Who is Jaxon Sales, by the way?
Yeah, so the story covers his murder. As you already mentioned, he was a 20-year-old South Korean-born native that was adopted from Seoul in 1999 by his Filipino-American parents, whose names are Angie and Jim Sales. And he was adopted at the age of 9 months old. Jackson and his brother were actually both adopted from South Korea when they were babies. And when he was 15 years old, he actually came out to his family, and he first told his brother Alex, who actually only came out just a short bit before him, and then he opened up to his cousin Izzy Aquino, and then soon after that, he also came out to his parents, who were very accepting of him. The family also says that Jackson had a huge heart and he loved making people around him smile and laugh. He was considered the jokester of the family. And here's a quote from his cousin Izzy and his brother Alex. He was super smart, so I would go to him for help with my homework, which just shows how smart he was, that he was helping his older brother with his homework. He would also just try to make everyone laugh at any time. And he also really enjoyed curating Spotify playlists to his friends' tastes. And just, really thoughtful individual.
I love that. I love, a friend that has, a bomb playlist, that, listens to, whether it's R&B, hip-hop, and then throws, some indie on there, or, because I don't typically listen to, punk rock or EDM, so that's really cool that he, tailored his playlist to his friend group, which is really awesome.
Absolutely. Do you want to kind of share another story of his kindness?
Yeah. I mean, we can't talk enough about how nice Jaxon Sales was. I mean, there's an instance when he was in a Bentley school. He stood up. He saw someone bullying one of his friend's brothers or something like that, and he actually intervened and stopped the bullies and stuck up for them, which is really nice. And then another situation was when he ended up quitting his job because his manager was getting treated unfairly. So, for example, we have a couple quotes here. He stood up for his friends, and he stood up against unfairness. Carrie Gomez, who worked with Jackson at a coffee shop, recalled the time Jackson quit his job at Equator Coffees. And the main reason why Jackson quit was because his manager was getting mistreated by the supervisors. And Jackson's manager happened to be a black woman. And he said, again, this is another quote, he had felt like there was casual racism going on, and he really didn't like it, Carrie said. Again, Carrie is who used to work with Jackson at Equator Coffees. So then Jackson quit, and he wrote a letter to the CEO explaining exactly why he quit. And Carrie says that they read the letter Jackson wrote, and she says, we read it, and he was really going in
That's
on the
awesome.
company. I think that's like so powerful that he, as such like a young individual, was like that passionate about other people and
It's
wanting
really
to bring
admirable
awareness.
that he was like willing to quit his job because he knew it wasn't right.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so let's dive into the more grim part of his story.
Yeah, so what happened March 1st?
So on March 1st is the last time anybody saw him alive. His parents texted him around 11 p.m. because he was still living at home, and they just wanted to check in to make sure if he was actually coming home that night or if he was staying out. And he responded to them, and he said that he would come home. But unfortunately, he didn't. It turned into his parents' worst nightmare, and it turned out that was the last time that they actually communicated with him. And they never heard from him again.
Oh, that's so crazy.
And then the 41-year-old white man where his body was found was able to kind of give his own recollection of the events. And he said that a friend of a friend, so Jackson and the man had a mutual friend.
Yep.
And they came to the apartment around 5 p.m. on Sunday, and other guests were there. So it was like a gathering of multiple people.
Okay, a little party, little lit session. Okay.
And sometime between midnight and 2 a.m., everyone except Jackson leaves the apartment, including the person that they both know, their mutual friend.
Interesting.
And then the man says the two fall asleep on his bed, and he got up around 6:30 a.m. to shower and get ready for work. And you could hear Jackson snoring in the bed, but he was, I guess, nice enough to let him sleep in and didn't want to bother him.
Okay, after this next part that I'm gonna speak about, you guys will let us know if you think that you heard Jackson snoring. So, let me just tell you what happens next. In the meantime, as this 41-year-old man, who we do not know the name of, is showering, and he decides to tidy up his apartment, okay, in his nice high-rise in the morning, yep, in his nice high-rise in San Francisco. At around 7:30-ish, he says that he goes to wake Jackson and discovers he isn't breathing. He then calls 911, which any person would if they found like a deceased person in the bed next to in the bed with them, or was laying in their bed, I guess you could say. And per their instructions, he moves Jackson's naked body to the floor. Do you think they told him to move the body to the floor so he had like a sturdy surface to give him like CPR or something?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So the ambulance came, and unfortunately Sales was pronounced dead around 7:52 a.m. He was found lying on the floor face up, reminding you the 41-year-old was advised to move Sales' naked body from the bed to the floor. So that's why, again, just reminding you, that's why he's on the floor. The 41-year-old says he didn't see Jackson consume any intoxicants other than a vape pen, according to the recorded police footage. Do you think I already asked you this, if he should have moved his body. Do you think that was like weird? No, I mean, because we already touched kind of about how like it's before a sturdy surface. But can you I guess the weird part is like you had to move a dead body from your bed then to the ground. I don't know why that just is very like cringy to me.
It's kind of. I mean, maybe they wanted him to perform CPR or something, and it would be better.
That's what I'm
on
thinking.
The floor.
But then also too, I just was thinking about like then wouldn't that kind of create like evidence-wise? Do you think that like maybe messes with the case at all, or no?
I don't know. I mean, if they advised him to do it, maybe not, and then, at least they know why he moved it.
Okay, that makes sense. But Yeah, I'm curious to know what happens next.
But yeah, so it was interesting because Jackson was found dead in March 2020,
Yes.
and then it took the medical examiner about 8 months to actually come up with a final report.
So weird.
So the family didn't find out until November what the official cause of death was.
So weird. That just seems like an extremely long period of time.
8 months.
8
That
months.
sounds insane.
That's like doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So the mother, Angie, said that she contacted the SF office of the chief medical examiner,
Okay.
and just to get more information because the medical examiner ruled his death accidental. And so she called to find out more about why they ruled it accidental, and an assistant medical examiner told her that the gay community uses GHB. So kind of
Interesting.
insinuating that we ruled it accidental because this is a common drug in that community, which seems incredibly inappropriate.
Yeah, like just a stereotype in a complete like group of people, and say that they use this.
They use this, so then it's unavoidable that some folks will die from it.
Which is so messed up because you cannot we have to get out of that like pattern of stereotyping in a complete group of community. It's
and to just like that's why he's dead, and then that's it, case closed. Like,
yeah,
we're not gonna question like how he got this drug, why he got this drug. Like, it's absurd.
It's absurd.
But anyway, so Jackson's uncle Phil Aquino and his cousin Izzy Aquino also went to the medical examiner's office because they wanted to retrieve his belongings.
Okay.
And so another member of the medical examiner's office told them that this community parties and it often results in overdoses. So it makes sense why he was found in this state.
That's so cringy. Like, I don't. Oh, that's so cringy
It's horrible.
So
I don't know why
awful.
they keep painting the gay community in this horrible light. I mean,
And it's
I know
San
why,
Francisco, and we just did research on how San Francisco became quote unquote like the first openly like gay city in the U.S. and ironically happened because of World War One.
Yeah.
But that's where they would discharge the people that were in the army that were homosexual to San Francisco, and instead of leaving and going back to their families, they just stayed. So you kind of would think that they would
creates
look at the
a better understanding, and more empathy.
Yeah, and
But there's, I guess, still assholes in the chief medical examiner's office.
or be more sensitive to the gay community because I don't know. I just it's San Francisco, you know. So, anyways,
It's so bizarre. But then Jackson's uncle actually found out something else when he was at the medical examiner, and it was
what was it?
so one of the other examiners told him that there was another fatal overdose at the same apartment
Stop.
just
Are you
1
serious?
week prior to Jackson's overdose.
No way.
So
Okay.
there's obviously a pattern linked to this apartment or the apartment owner.
That's so messed up. So you're telling me 1 week before Jaxon Sales passed away, there was another overdose in this 41-year-old white man's apartment?
Yes.
That's literally insane.
And everyone's like, this must be an accident too.
Yeah, it's like how many accidents until this guy kills somebody? Because we don't know too much about GHB. We'll tap into that a little bit later, but that just doesn't make any sense. I don't know. It's just
it seems so suspicious that 2 overdoses happen in the same man's apartment.
and those are just ones that we know of. That we know of. We don't know if there's could be more. Yeah.
But yeah, and then Jackson's friend told BuzzFeed News that they had never known him to actually take GHB. So
Interesting. Okay.
yeah. Do you want to kind of explain what GHB is?
Yes.
Because I have no idea.
Yeah. What is GHB? That is what I'm here for, to tell you what the fuck GHB is. In his official report, Michael, I'm gonna butcher this shit. Suchovicki. Okay, that's a medical examiner. He was at the scene. An investigator with the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner ruled Jackson's death probable drug-related overdose. The toxicology report stated that gamma hydroxybutyrate, GHB, is a substance commonly known as a date rape drug that sometimes is used recreationally, was found in Jackson's system. Again, and I found this information on BuzzFeed. In a statement to BuzzFeed News, the San Francisco Police Department said that it conducted an investigation and did not find evidence of foul play. Police ruled Jackson's death as an accidental and closed the case. But the thing that I don't understand is GHB is a commonly known date rape drug. Like, who raises their hand and says, I'm going to do a date rape drug today?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know too many people that do that. I mean, I get it's recreational, but you would think that, like, they didn't know each other.
Yeah.
So if he has, like, a date rape drug in him, don't you think that means something?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think they should dig into this 41-year-old man a little bit more, considering it's a date rape drug. Like, they don't know him. So ask him some more questions about, did you slip him something?
Right.
Or, or anything, because it just seems odd that that would be in Jackson's system.
Yeah, it's just weird. But, okay, you think that shit's weird. Do you think it gets weirder?
Probably.
It does. So, okay. We briefly talked about body cam footage. And again, the family received the body cam footage on January 22nd, 2022. That's almost 2 years after Jackson passed away. That's crazy is that?
Crazy.
That's
2 years?
2 years after he passes, after he was found dead in this 41-year-old's apartment. I mean, like, and the call gets weird, and it begins with Officer Louis Wong questioning the man who lives in the apartment and who made the 911 call.
Mm-hmm. So what was on it?
Yeah, I mean, great question. So Wong asked him to write down the names of everyone at his home the previous night. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like,
they had a party. There's multiple people.
Exactly. It totally makes sense to ask him that question.
Yeah.
So, the parents claim the 41-year-old said there was multiple guests there that night, including the mutual acquaintance who dropped Jackson off, yet nobody else interviewed. So this is like, again, Jaxon Sales' parents.
That's crazy that the police wouldn't interview.
I know. They didn't.
All the guests.
Exactly. How weird is that?
Maybe they would have answers about why there's GHB in his
Exactly.
system.
Somebody would know something.
Yeah, maybe they could confirm or say, I don't know.
Yeah, or like say like, oh, I saw him do this or I saw him do this. But the interesting part, though, is that they didn't even do that to even figure out what was going on. Because maybe there was some foul play that we don't know that happened that night of the party that other people may remember, but it's just the whole thing is just weird. So, okay. So I'm going to quickly read you guys what was heard and also what was said on the body cam footage. So, Wong steps outside the apartment to call Sergeant Eugene Paris, which makes sense. That's his direct report. That's his sergeant. So, of course, he has any questions, concerns, he's going to call him. But he decides to call him on his cell phone and just giving him information about the death. So, Wong states, it's kind of hinky, so I'm going to probably notify homicide. Something Paris says, however, promotes Wong to change course. Wong says, you want me to wait? I'll wait for the ME then. ME as in medical examiner. It was really disturbing just how Wong quickly pivoted to, like, his sergeant said something, then he quickly just pivoted and was like, okay, never mind, I'll wait. Like, isn't that weird? That was weird, right? Yeah. So this next part is really disturbing, and this is the communication between Wong and then also the 41-year-old. So, brief description. It was really just overall this kind of disturbing how Wong was speaking to the apartment resident because it comes off a little like he's comforting in a way. But you guys let us know your thoughts. So, back in the apartment, Wong explains to the resident the purpose of his questions. Wong states, "We're just trying to tie everything together because anytime there's loss of life, something's going to happen. We don't know what his family's going to do. Either they're going to be upset. We're just trying to protect you. I'm just asking just to protect you. That's all there is," unquote. So that's what Wong said to the 41-year-old. The 41-year-old says, I'm not offended. It's fucked. I don't know what the fuck happened. Okay.
Yeah, that's really odd.
And to play devil's advocate, he really may not remember because he could have been like blacked out drunk or like the drugs that they were taking.
Yeah, and Wong might have been saying that to like make the resident more comfortable to maybe like confess or tell him more.
Yeah.
Or maybe he would tell him more and then slip and, reveal something.
Exactly. Yeah, so that makes sense. So Wong says to the 41-year-old, "Sorry you have to go through this." He actually tells him sorry. And I know you probably have other things to do. We're just trying to make sure that they don't try to come after you because it happened in your place. That's all we're trying to do. By come after you, Wong clarifies to the man that he's referring to a lawsuit brought on by the family. Wong assures the man his identity will remain anonymous. First of all, you cannot just tell someone they're going to be anonymous. That's not how
that sounds crazy.
The legal system works.
Heard that before.
I've never heard that before either. Because if you guys remember back in our first episode with Lauren Smith Fields, we actually were able to tell you Matthew LaFontaine or LaFontaine, however you want to say its name. But in this one, it's just continually referencing the 41-year-old.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, how can you grant for him to be anonymous, though?
It's wild.
That part's really weird. So, a former police officer expressed reservations about Wong's decision to tell the resident he would be anonymous. It's not the police's role to protect someone from civil liability for something. This is a quote again from the former police officer. "It strikes me as a weird thing to have said because like I just said, Wong says to the 41-year-old, 'Sorry you have to go through this.'" What do you mean? Why are you sorry he has to go through this? This is his second overdose. And didn't you say that it was like a week apart, right?
Yeah.
The second one in a week, and this guy, Wong, a police officer.
At this point, we should not be trying to coddle him.
No, we should be arresting him and saying, "Why do people keep dying in your home?"
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, an hour and 9 minutes after police responded to the call, the two medical examiners arrived, including Suchavicki. Okay. 13 minutes after arriving, Suchavicki calls it no trauma. I'm calling this drug related. Okay. And then this is another quote, people. "Okay, yes, of course," Wong replies. Wong hands Suchavicki the card of the building manager whom he had previously spoken to. Okay, that's fair. Just maybe get some footage.
Like additional feedback or something.
Yeah, exactly. And then Wong says, "This is a person who's in charge here meaning by the apartment complex, and you can pull the video footage of who came up here, but probably not needed because we all know what happened, so very good," Wong tells Suchavicki.
That's crazy.
That's literally crazy.
He's like implying like the resident gave us the guest list and he already told us the events of the night, so we don't need to double check or corroborate the statement. Ugh, it's so insane.
It's so weird and none of it makes any sense, but what happens next?
Yeah, so
I think it's crazy.
The police goes through the apartment and they end up finding crystal meth, a straw, and pills in a closet.
Breakfast of champions.
Yum, yum. And so Suchavicki informs the resident that he's confiscating these items. But then the resident says, "These drugs don't belong to Jaxon. I know for a fact that he does not do that."
Period. Since you just said that, and we talked about this kind of briefly, but how did he not get arrested for having meth? Meth is illegal. They literally just confiscated it. And now, looking at this again, it kind of makes me wonder, when he said, I know for a fact that he does not do that, like drugs and all that stuff. Do you think he's saying that so they don't take his drugs from him?
Maybe, but it also seems like not a good thing to say because then the cameras are on him again because
Right.
he's like, those are not the victims. Like, okay, so are you saying they're yours?
Yeah, right. It's like, so who did these drugs belong to?
Yeah,
Were they
so it
yours?
seemed like not a good move.
No.
But even though it's not a good move, they're still chill about it. They don't arrest him. They're just like,
It's weird shit.
all right, you have these illegal drugs, but we'll just take them and that's it. Like,
See, that's like what doesn't make any sense, you know? So it's like, imagine if we got the feds right now called over to your house, okay? And they just found like the whole, like they found meth like in your driveway.
I would be sent off to prison.
You
right
would
away.
be like in jail.
Yeah.
That's what I don't understand, how like this guy can have meth and pills. And like by the sounds of it, it doesn't sound like they were like pills that like his prescription pills, like pills that like he takes recreationally.
Yeah.
You know, like they clearly are illegal because they
mean,
confiscated it.
You know, it makes sense. He's a affluent white male in a luxury condo, so
It makes sense.
you know he can't be doing anything wrong.
Period.
So, do you want to talk about some questions that his family still has?
Yeah, some
Even
things.
2 years after this.
Yeah. So like something. So things that still aren't adding up are questions that both his family has. Specifically, I will be reading quotes and questions from Jaxon Sales' family. These are also questions that we're wondering as well, but these are just direct quotes from them. So, from his parents. So, I'll start by, this is a quote. If Jaxon was given the GHB right before he went to bed, why would an overdose have taken 5 hours to kill him? What time did Jaxon ingest that lethal dose of GHB? Did Jaxon actually consent to taking this drug? While Jaxon was dying from a GHB overdose, why did the person shower and clean his residence before calling 911? They asked in the petition. I believe it's on change.org, and it has over like 400,000
We'll
people
link
have
it.
signed it. Yeah, we'll link it. And then the next thing that they said, the illegal drugs were found the morning of Jackson's death, stowed away in a closet. Why was no one questioned about processing those drugs? Right.
Possessing.
Or possessing those drugs. But I mean, by like processing, I mean like, why the questions above, why didn't the medical examiner process like any of those questions, especially in regards to the time that he had taken the lethal dose of GHB? Like, because as a medical examiner, you should know as a professional, especially if working for the state or working for like a huge city like San Francisco, you should know those questions, right?
Yeah, they should probably have a timeline. I mean, I don't know how that kind of blood work works,
Yeah.
but they should be able to tell like when it was taken, how long it took
Exactly.
to settle in and stuff like that.
Exactly. And since you mentioned that, also too, it's when we were doing a previous case, they actually were like able to say what time the individual died, but we didn't see that on here. They just announced him dead at the scene, you know, like they didn't get like a time frame of what time they think that he might have passed. It was kind of weird, but anyways, the parents revealed that while they have Jackson's phone, they don't actually have his passcode, so it's been making it a little bit difficult for them to log onto his phone. But however, they are aware that there are 38 texts back and forth between one specific number. We have identified, so it's another quote, we have identified the owner of the phone number and have given that information to the police, but yet they have not investigated it, the parents said. We reached out to the owner of the phone number, listen to this shit, who told us to contact that male and refused to disclose the nature of their relationship. Weird. What is the connection between the owner of that phone number and the 41-year-old white male who was with Jaxon when he died? And this, again, quotes from his parents. Why would that guy, like, kind of just, like, go ghost, you know?
Yeah, maybe it's the mutual friend.
Yeah, it's a possibility, too.
That they don't want to be connected to the situation.
Yeah, that's true,
But
too.
also, how lazy is the police for not investigating it?
I know. Lazy as fuck for some bizarre reason. So...
All right, so earlier we mentioned that the medical examiners made some horrible comments about the gay community and them using GHB, and that's what's leading to overdoses. Do you know if the police or the medical examiner's office made any more comments about that?
I thank you for asking that. I actually do. So let's get into it. So the Bay Area Reporter tried to investigate that statement, and David Serrano Sewell, chief operating officer at the San Francisco Medical Examiner's Office, would not confirm or deny the quote, this like specific remark, the gay community uses GHB. However, he insisted sexual orientation made no difference to its investigations.
That seems like crap.
It seems like complete bullshit, right?
Because they said that his death is accidental because of the use of GHB.
Yeah.
And how can this date rape drug be used accidentally?
Exactly.
If they're not in the back of their mind saying like it's normal for this community.
Right. Like, how does any of that shit make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, none of it's adding up.
Yeah, the
like,
official report doesn't seem to reflect the statement that he's saying.
Exactly. Which, you know, let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they, like, did not say that. But the office, and this is a quote, the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner expresses our deepest condolences to the family of Jaxon Sales. According, again, this is what David Serrano Sewell said, because he told that outlet that the OCME conducted a thorough forensic investigation to clarify the cause and manner of death in this case, with the highest degree of competence, professionalism, compassion, and consistent with state law. Okay, that's what that man said. So. And then he also says, descendants' sexual orientation, race, religion, or other factors do not influence our death investigations or conclusions. I don't know if I believe that man for shit, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe he's just unaware of that quote or, you know, whatever. Because he doesn't know if such a Vicky said that or not, per se. But I feel like he may have an insight, obviously. But what's currently going on with the case now?
Yeah, so this is actually something positive, sort of, that's happening within this case. So even though this happened over 2 years ago now, fortunately, it's coming back into like prominence, and now it's actually backed by California State Senator Scott Wiener.
Wow.
And he actually wrote a letter to the SFPD and the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, calling on them to do a full investigation regardless of Jackson's sexual orientation and regardless of which communities do or do not use GHB. So it's really great that he's speaking up for this family and asking for a reopening of the case and a thorough, full investigation, and maybe this time they will do it appropriately so that the family can get some answers.
It's nice that he's like being an advocate too.
Absolutely,
you know, that's where it's awesome.
But yeah, so this is you know, an ongoing case again, and we really hope that the SFPD and the SFOCME can get on this and get on top of things and do the due diligence
and do the right thing
for this family and for Jackson, because just saying he overdosed because that's what the gay community does is absolutely horrifying to say. And
you can't say that.
Yeah, you can't say that, and it's just terrible.
It's just like you cannot label like a group of people something. That's like one of the main issues that we have, just like nowadays. I mean, like with Black Lives Matter and, you know, things like that, like bringing awareness that you cannot label an entire group of people based on A, assumptions, and B, like you have absolutely like no data to back up what you're saying. And so I guess like, and you just can't label the LGBTQ plus community for like saying that they do this drug. There's like anybody could literally do that. Anybody could actually like do this drug. It's not just one specific community.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, but
and it's just a date rape drug. It's not a gay date rape drug or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, you
it's
can't
a date rape
just
drug.
say that. It's horrible.
It's absolutely awful.
But yeah, it's an ongoing case, and we're going to continue to follow it, and hopefully we can do an update sometime soon, and we can just close this case, and hopefully Jackson and his family can just get the answers they need.
Yeah, seriously, like definitely bringing awareness back to the family and overall just really helping them, because this case was completely mishandled. But we just want to say that's kind of concludes our third episode of the podcast. So thank you so much for listening again to our third episode. Woohoo.
Yay.
Yes, and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and
The whole shebang.
the whole shebang. And we got a link tree, so it's a one and done, one-stop shop to follow us wherever, whenever.
Yeah,
But
and we also appreciate all the feedback that we've been getting.
Yes,
Please
maybe-
keep that coming.
yeah, maybe we actually could, like, I would be down to like read some feedback on here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we could definitely do that.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. But again, as always, I'm Jenny Wilson.
And I'm Isabel Ansela.
And thank you for listening to us and our podcast In the Shade. Bye.